All right, welcome back across the bridge, connecting the globe, bridging the gap between the world and Jacksonville, Florida. Shout out Duval County.
Duval.
Y'all see Keezy, right? It's your host,
Duval.
Jahmal Rashad.
Pretty
Keezy.
sure nobody got this him.
We made it, y'all. He crossed over,
Mm.
officially a Jaguar fan. What you got to
Mm.
tell the people?
I'm a Duval County fan, baby. This Duval County hat right here. I ain't seen nobody with this right here. I think I'm the only one with it. Don't bring it out if you're hating. You see me at the games this year. You
So
feel
now
me?
we talking about going to the games. We got the
Games.
logo front and center. Um,
No hate around here, baby. Ain't no hate around here.
I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you.
My blood.
You know, I spent a lot of time educating you on the big
Mm.
moves we made this year, and it looks like you're excited, man. So
They
uh,
actually playing my Broncos this year. They playing them in Denver. I might have to take me a trip up the Rocky Mountain to see something.
now you want to go support them in Denver.
Me and the young lady might have to go to Denver and Rocky Mountains.
This is good, man. I like where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
I told you you had a free ticket. It looks like you bought your own.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see you in first class, man. But
Wait till you see what I pull out around the draft day. Wait till you see what I pull out then.
oh,
I'm
we
gonna shock
got
you
well,
for
we
real
got
then.
jerseys.
I'm gonna shock you for real then.
Cool, man. Well, I'm excited for you, man. Welcome. And I look forward I look forward to the season, man. So let's do it. Let's do
Yeah,
it big. But we got some topics to talk about. Of course, this is March. March is going on, March Madness. Front and center. We got the Final Four for both women's and men's. I'm super
right.
excited. Let's tell the people, who you got representing the finals and then why. So let's start with the women. You want me to go first or you
Yeah,
want to?
you go ahead. You go ahead with the women, bro. You jump on in
Yeah, man. So one of my homies, she actually played college basketball. So we're
there. Okay.
always chatting. And I got her take today on who she got in the final four. Now, her heart is with South Carolina. So of course, South Carolina, we got, Don Staley. I mean, South Carolina has now become that powerhouse. So I expect them to beat Tennessee. So I'm not really worried about that matchup.
I mean Texas.
Oh yeah, Texas. I expect South Carolina to represent that side of the bracket. Now, the game I'm really interested in is UCLA versus UConn.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we think about the history of UConn, that's where I'm leaning, right? You got the coach, legendary coach, and then you got two stars on that team. And going back to my conversation with my homie, she was really just enlightening me on the real key that's going to drive the difference between who makes it between UConn and UCLA is going to be the guard play.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about the guards, they got Paige Buckets. That's what I call her, Paige Buckets.
Okay.
The girl is a hooper. I think she dropped 40 recently, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But her and then we have I gotta think of the other girl's name. Fudd, Ozzy Fudd. She actually, her and Paige to me are gonna be the difference, right? So they both can shoot, they both can score at will. And one thing that's common is they both have come off of significant injuries. So adversity is at play here. And for both of them, just being able to come back from major injuries and now represent UConn how it usually is represented, I'm
Right.
I'm leaning towards UConn because they have those two scores. When you look at UCLA, they have who they consider the number one player in women's basketball right now, and that's Lauren Betts, six
Mm-hmm.
seven. This girl is 6'7", bro.
Yeah, I see.
And she's a force in the paint, right? So when you think about the opportunity to shut her down, that's where I'm thinking they'll lean as far as a game plan to the best of their ability. Because again, they do have the guard play, and that's UConn that I'm talking about. They have the guard play, they have the three and D, and they score at will. So if Lauren Betts can be held in check, even at 6'7", 6'7" is crazy. But she's a hooper, rebounder, low post moves. And then Kiki Rice is somebody I think would be the difference maker. Now she'll be more formally going up against Paige and Ozzie Fudd. But when you think about Kiki Rice, and shout out to her, that's a fire name. She was actually somebody who came out of high school as the National Player of the Year. So she is a hooper as well, right?
Right.
You know who she's related to?
Mm,
Allen Houston.
mm,
So
okay.
if you think about Allen Houston, right? New York Knicks, for all the Knicks fans out there,
Right.
he was a baller. He was a hooper back in the Patrick Ewing days. But the apple don't fall from the tree. Her game kind of reminds me of his. And again, she is a hooper. She is a difference maker. But I think that will be the key difference is she can hold her own against Paige, and really represent as far as the wing guard play
Mm.
allow Lauren Betts to do her thing in the low post. UCLA could upset UConn, but I got UConn versus South Carolina, and I'm kind of rooting for UConn to pull it out. So that's who I got coming out the women's.
I got South Carolina versus UCLA, man. I got UCLA beating UConn. Simcoe, you said that's 6-7. Ain't nobody on UConn that can do nothing with that. You can have all the guard play all you want, but they guards, why they probably can't match UConn guard. UCLA guards can't match UConn guard. They can at least make it a challenge. Ain't
Right.
nobody on UConn that can do that with no 6-7. So as long as she don't get in foul trouble, which is usually how I go with the college basketball and the big girls, with the forward and the center. As long as they don't get in foul trouble, and that coach smart enough, you just dump it down to her, man. Let them carry it on. Like I say, after that, South Carolina, they gonna hoop. I fully expect them to be there 1-1. I wonder though, had Juju even played, would they have beat UConn? I mean UCLA. You know what I'm saying? Because that wait a minute. One of them played. One of them played USC. Who played USC?
UConn.
UConn played USC. I'm wondering would they had beaten them even with her, because they say they go back and forth. But that's unfortunate regardless. But yeah, I'm going UCLA, South Carolina, man.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, that was my pick coming into the March Madness for the women's side was UConn, or not UConn, USC. Like I
Right.
said a couple weeks ago, I believe Juju is the best player. I think she is someone who can continue to carry the sport. When you think about what was the girl's name last year?
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark. So to me, she's on that type of time and that type of level, right?
Right.
But unfortunately, she got the injury to her Achilles and she was out. USC still kept moving forward, so that even shocked me that they was able to keep moving and advancing at least to the Elite Eight. So yeah, definitely with Juju, I think they would have really represented this side of the bracket, and I would have been rooting for them. But in replace of that, I really think UConn has a chance, and I think it'll be a good story, overcoming all those injuries for Paige and set up for a heck of a WNBA in the next couple of years. So
Right.
I
Right.
look forward to that game, but I won't sleep on South Carolina for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man. One thing that stood out to me, these girls making some moves, man, with these NIL
They
deals
are. They
and
are.
business. Uh, Kiki Rice, if I read it correctly, doing some research, is the first athlete to sign an NIL deal with Jordan Brand.
Mm.
So that caught me off guard, like wow. And the other thing was Ozzy Fudd, if I'm saying her name right. She got like ownership in a drink company, and
Mm.
to think about her shooting skills, she signed under Steph Curry's brand. So you can kind of see that
Steph
relationship.
Curry got his own brand, like subsidiary Under Armour.
I think it's like tied with Under Armour through that
Right.
partnership, kind of like
Okay.
Jordan with Nike.
Word.
But
Okay.
yeah, it just speaks to again. I think it highlights the fact that she can shoot as well as buckets, and we'll see what happens with that. But shout
Yeah.
out to the women, making these moves,
Ready
especially
to see it. Definitely ready to see it.
for sure. On the men's side, man, who you got? Who you got
Man,
coming out?
man, it's
Big bracket?
crazy. I really feel like the championship game is Houston versus Duke. I feel like that's the championship game, to be honest with you. But since it's not, I'm gonna go Duke. Gonna edge out them in a classic game. I think both of these gonna be real tight, real classic game. And as much as it hates me, I hate to say it. I hate the Gators. I'm gonna pick Florida to beat Auburn.
Are you from Jacksonville?
They what I got to do anything.
How you hate the Gators?
I like the Hurricanes. And then Florida State second. The Gators last in trash. So Gators is last in trash. So Duke, Florida, I'm going there. We're gonna see what they do. I mean, hold on. I think the next show gonna be Monday, so we ain't gonna have the show. So I'm going to take my pick. I'm gonna say, well, we might well say our picks too, because I think the next show gonna be after the championship game.
Well, I said UConn.
You say UConn? Okay, I'm gonna go South Carolina to beat UCLA, and then I'm gonna take Duke. I'm gonna take. And I hate to say this too, 'cause I like Tar Heel. I'm a North Carolina fan, so Duke finna win it, man. Because they got Cooper Flag, and that boy is unstoppable. That team is deep. Cooper Flag is undeniable. Like I said, I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for this guy to come in and be great and continue to be great in the NBA on the next level. And he ain't even really had no turned up game yet. So I think he gonna come on the big stage. He reminded me a lot of what Melo did when Melo came out way back in the day and actually might win the championship. So Duke, Florida, Duke win the championship on what that is. I mean Monday or Tuesday or whatever.
You just like losing all the way around. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm like losing because I said Duke.
No,
Either Duke.
you said you don't like Duke, you don't
I,
like the
I, I
Gators.
like North Carolina.
That's what I'm saying. Like you
But
like Miami,
North Carolina has more championships than Duke, I think.
you think.
And I
Okay.
know I know the Hurricane got more championships than the Gators for a fact. So yeah.
Yeah. So you one of them Cowboy fans.
Nah,
But
I'm wrong.
yeah. Back in the 90s. But yeah, so let's talk about it, man. So I got the Gators versus Duke. You know what I'm saying? I'm winning on both sides. You know, I'm a Duke fan. You know, shout out to the Duke Blue Devils. You know, this goes way back. But shout out to Duke. But I mean, I'm from Jacksonville. You know what I'm saying? And I never understood y'all who like Florida State. I just don't understand. I never
Why not?
understood it. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, the colors.
The guy you finna talk about next went to Florida State.
Who's that?
We gotta talk about Prime. He Florida State.
Yeah, man. Like Florida State just nah, man. It's all about the
Rip.
Gators, man. It's all about UF. And when you think about the team, right? And I'm a little biased, you know what I'm saying? Like they had the best players in football, best players in basketball. Um, so I am biased just because it's a winning culture.
You got the best players in football? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Where? When? How? Who?
What you mean?
You do realize like the historic. We're gonna talk it right quick.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
circle back to this. Add this to the agenda. We can
no,
circle
let's.
back
I'm gonna
to
do this right now. You do realize that
this.
predominantly everybody would agree that the best college football team of all time is the Miami Hurricanes '01, right? Or we got 2001. You do know that, right?
So the reason I am who I am is because I don't do the predominantly everybody.
Okay. Well, they
Yeah,
beat the dog shit out the Gators too back then. So
that's nice. What you on? 1989, 90s?
this 2000.
Okay. I haven't seen them in the championship in a long time, boy. A long time. A long time. So we can revisit this another day. But I just don't recall the last time I've seen UM in the championship. But with that being said, UF, right? Number one, they got Elijah Martin. Elijah Martin came from FAU, just transferred. I talked about this last show, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you did.
But FAU had some ballers. They got to the Final Four. They tried to run it back. They fell short. And the big schools came calling, right? The coach went to Michigan. We got players that went to Michigan, players that went to Arkansas, and Elijah went to UF. I think he was the missing piece because he's just athletic, right? He can score, but he got a defensive prowess. The dude got ups. And again, he's come from a winning program that was demonstrated over the past 2 years and just brought it over to UF, who has a dude I think is about to get paid. When I think about March Madness, when I was talking about with Juju Watkins to really come onto the scene and showcase like her talent, because the world is watching when we think about March Madness. This guy, Walter Clayton Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen him recently, man, but I wasn't aware of him. Man, I've been watching these games. I mean, this dude is clutch right now. Like the biggest moments, the biggest shots, and they're not like easy shots. Like my guy is just turning around at the 3-point line and busting. And he's propelling them right along with some other players on the team to the spotlight in the Final Four. So I really think, with Elijah Martin and his defense, they got some bigs, they got some other players that can shoot, and then you got Walter Clayton who can close it out. If the game is close, I really believe they'll have a chance. But when I think about the final matchup, in which I'm going for the Gators versus UConn, like you said from the jump, Cooper
I mean,
Flag.
I
He's
mean
on
Duke.
another, huh?
I mean Duke. You said UConn.
Oh yeah, Duke and the Gators, my bad. When I think about Duke, Cooper Flag, he's just on another level, right? Like he's just already NBA talent. He's just going through the motions as far as going to college, playing through the season. Clearly will be a number one draft pick. Clearly will make a difference in the NBA. I'm not sure what team he would fall to.
I don't know if he necessarily. He might not clearly be number one because that other boy, they saying they could be a battle. Him and that guy, I think from Arizona or somewhere like that. So the big dude was a big guy. He be getting off, but
Yeah,
maybe
just like Jordan, he didn't go number one. And
right.
who was the dude who went to the Cleveland the one year? Anthony something.
Yeah, Anthony. What the hell he name? But
Yeah,
yeah,
like right. So that's whoever lost, whoever want that on their resume that they're not gonna pick up Cooper Flag with the number one pick, so have it. But he's clearly the cream of the crop. The dude just know how to play basketball. We've seen him in the summer league.
Ace Bay is my Ace Bay. Ace Bay is what I'm talking about.
Okay. We've
Yeah,
seen him with playing with the NBA players with the Olympics to warm up. He can hold his own as a 17, 18-year-old. So yeah, it's just the next step literally in the progression. And I think if he wants to just put a stamp on who he is, he'll have to show up and take over his game. But again, if it's an arm's reach, watch out for Walter Clayton Jr. That guy is clutch. So that's what I got. I got the Gators from a heart standpoint, but I believe it'll be Duke, and then I got UConn, but I believe, South Carolina will find a way.
the Ace and the dude that's too big. They gonna be too big for Florida. Them boys all tall. They like 6'5", 6'6" and above.
I
Like,
agree, man. So that's why I said I'm leaning with my heart, but if it's close, anything can happen. And usually with these NCAA games, man, they seem to be close for the most part. It's not
they
necessarily
do.
a blowout.
They be good games.
So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Be pretty good games.
Cool. So let us know who y'all picking. Again, Final Four, March Madness about to come to the close. Let us know in the comments. Let's see who y'all got. Transitioning to the NBA, man.
Mm-hmm.
Giannis Antetokounmpo. We talked about Damian Lillard getting the blood clots recently.
Mm-hmm.
He's out. You got what was his name? I can't think his name. Who got traded for Kyle Kuzma? Dang, what was that small forward? And Middleton. You got Middleton traded, right? Drew Holiday traded, and you got Giannis back to where it was from ground zero when he first started to blossom. I really thought after 2019, 2020, two back-to-back MVPs, and then 2021, he got the championship. I thought it was Giannis' league. I ain't gonna lie. I thought he was about to take over. 3 years later, it looks like his run is over. Do you believe it's over for Giannis, or do you think he'll resurrect his career and be dominant again?
It's over for him. It's over in Milwaukee. Milwaukee not finna. He been talking about tripping about getting invited up for the longest. Similar remind me of the story of him and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar back in the day. Got that ring in a small market. But Giannis is the person who he got to be in New York. He got to be in Miami. He got to be in the big market. Like he always speak about the big markets. Him being in Milwaukee, this ain't gonna get it done. They firing coaches who you don't understand. Like coaches getting fired, booting hoes. They got rid of him. The whole team ain't even together no more. We know Dame don't want to be there. Looking at this roster, it's like it's not even a roster who you think finna do anything, right? So I've been saying for years, somebody needs to go down to Miami. Whoever can get to Miami, like I said, we saying should have been Dame earlier. Now we talking about John Morant, possibly at Giannis, whoever can get down to Miami and get down there up on the Pat Riley them for a few years and make it work. I think that'd be good for Giannis. But yeah, I think definitely it's over for him in Milwaukee because Boston is too good. And you got Detroit now coming up. You know, you got the Cleveland. They young. They gonna be here for a while. Ain't nobody around him, man. So he got to get up out of Milwaukee, mainly.
It's sad to say, man, but I think it's over for him just from a dominant standpoint. Like I think Giannis he'll get his 30, his, 30 and 15, whatever it may be. But I really think his window has closed. And the main reason I say that is just looking at the Damian Lillard trade, right? He needs defensive guard play to really execute and dominate. And like when I think about Miami, I don't see that. I don't see that in Miami. Now, if Jimmy Buckets was there, right? If Jimmy Butler was there, I think that'll be a great destination. But if you're just saying going to Miami just to be in a big market, yeah, that's cool. It'll bring some relevance to Miami, who kind of just, I don't know, they're in some turmoil right now with that organization. Um, but I really think he needs those type of players like a Drew Holiday, and I don't see him going to Boston, right? Like I don't think a team like that is necessary. I don't see him going to a team like the Lakers if, LeBron, starts to transition out of the NBA. Playing with somebody like a Luca is cool, but again, I think he really thrives off of that fundamental defensive style guard play, who can also get a bucket, but really is able to stop opposing teams' guards from penetrating and shooting at free will. So I don't know, man. Like I really thought he was going to just dominate the league and take over. But I think he's going to start to transition further down when you think about top five, top 10. You'll see his name start to trickle down towards the bottom. I don't believe he'll get another championship and his run may be over, but I think he's a phenomenal talent. And it kind of just goes back to why I say the Jaguars are going to be successful over the next 5 to 10 years.
I don't get to Jaguars.
I'm looking at your hat, man, and because you're just celebrating so much today, it's just making me so happy and ringing home the success of the Jaguars right now. But when I talk about leadership, man, again, I think it's so crucial and so fundamental. Like we look at the players individually, we look at their skill sets and what they do on the court, but a lot of it is really driven by leadership. And when you look at Milwaukee's leadership, I think they got cocky. I think they got comfortable. They saw the growth of Giannis. They had the ability to get a two-time NBA MVP back to back. Then they won a championship, and then they just blew the whole thing up. They got rid of one of the best players in Drew Holiday. Middleton just disappeared with injury or whatever it is. You bring in Adrian Griffin, right? And he's leading the program, and all of a sudden, mid-season, you make a change to bring in. I'm not gonna say disrespect him and say Doc Rivers is one of the worst coaches ever, but his resume just shares, or at least informs me, he just does not get it done, right? The man recently uh, became a trending topic literally because he said he doesn't get enough credit for losing series, winning at least 3 games, right? He's never been swept in, and that was something he was proud of, but not the fact that he can't overcome being up 3-1 and closing out series,
Same
right?
way y'all like the champion LeBron going and not winning. It makes sense.
Say that again.
Same way certain people like the champion LeBron going to the finals but not winning them. So it all makes sense to me.
Oh, here we go. Here we
Yeah.
go. I
Wow.
mean, I have so many examples of that for you, but it's okay. For you, you like people who don't make it. You rather them not make it to the finals than somebody who makes it to the finals. But I get it. But yeah, when it comes to Doc Rivers, man, the way that whole transition, it just reaps of, the front office not having alignment, not having a true strategy. And ultimately that's going to be the downside of Giannis' career. So I think it's over for him overall. He may find a team, but he really going to need defensive guard play. And I think the teams that have those types of players, they already got enough pieces to where he's not going to be able to fit into the mix. But we'll see. I hope I'm wrong, but I think he's kind of going to go down one of those Kawhi Leonard paths where he was at the top and then all of a sudden he just kind of disappeared into the background. But
I'm thinking they could be just like Denver because it's like these franchises who not used to success. Same thing Denver doing. Like in my opinion, Denver should have been back in the finals last year. When you read the story, you read what's going behind the scenes. It's front office problems. Front office don't know what they're doing. They messing up. They get rid of certain players. They kind of the same place now. Jokic, one of the top players in NBA history, but it's a good chance they don't go back to the finals this year. Although I've been picking them to go, but like I say, you never know. I just think Giannis need him another guy. Like all the top teams, they got two guys. Even in when he won a championship, he didn't really have no bona fide number two who was like that. He had Chris Middleton who was like he had a great team around him.
he was
And
a
then
bona
they won.
fide number two.
Nah, he wasn't a bona fide number two. Not like on no Jaylen Brown type of level. Not on no level like that. He was a closer. I'll give him that. He closed those games out for him. But as far as like getting them through, and then also with that championship, they won that championship coming off that COVID year, because they like the third seed and everything. So I felt like that was a weird year anyway. I was like, I think that was the year that people wasn't in the stands, people were sitting over all the faces. It was like whatever, you know what I'm saying? Who they beat? They beat Phoenix. They beat Phoenix that year. I think Phoenix was up 0-2, and Chris Paul and all them dudes choked. Devin Booker, all of them, they all blew it.
Devin Booker.
Yeah, he blew it after he put out Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I just think he need him a number two, another guy. Give him a good running mate. Give him somebody who he can ball out with. I don't think he's 30 years old, man. I don't think he's over for Giannis at all. You just got to get him another piece and get up out of Milwaukee because they don't know what to do. This is showing why players don't like being in small markets, and the only team that can do it seems to be San Antonio. OKC, like baby San Antonio, they just can't ever break through.
Yeah, leadership, right?
Yeah, leadership. Right, leadership.
You're talking about Popovich,
Right.
right? Leadership. So that's really like small, big, medium, it don't matter. Who you got running the organization from a coaching standpoint, from a front office standpoint. It's really that simple. Once you figure that piece out, aka the Jaguars, everything else follows. So stay tuned. Number one fan, Keezy, you can see leadership matters, people. I've been preaching this. I'm gonna keep preaching it.
Mm.
Speaking of leadership, Deion Sanders, man, is he leading the case for black coaches to be represented across all leagues?
No,
No.
not at all. Deion Sanders is not the average black coach, and I didn't even do much research on this, but I want to answer that question. I would have to know how many black NCAA D1 head coaches are there right now. If that number hasn't really went up since back in the days of Sylvester Crooms and Charlie Strong when we were younger, I mean, it was a big deal. I think wasn't Sylvester Crooms like the first black head coach who was a college D1 when he went to Mississippi State? I know they had dude Shaw at Stanford. How many we got?
There are 16 head coaches in NCAA Division One football, which represents 12% of
The
134 head
16
coaches.
black head coaches?
Yeah.
That's a big ass number. I'm trying to think who the hell are the 16 black head coaches in D1?
And that's 12. So notable coaches, right? You got Penn State, so James Franklin, so that's a top school. You got Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame. You
Uh-huh.
got Charles Huff, Marshall. You got
Uh-huh.
Willie Simmons, Kennesaw State. So historically, so to give some context, in 2007, so this is 18 years ago, there were
Uh-huh.
only seven black head coaches in
Right.
NCAA football. So, I mean, seven, 18 years later, we're now up to 16. And when I bring up Deion Sanders, it's not that he's paving the way as like he's the first ever, right? Um, but I think it is a good example in changing the belief, right? Like if you think about the Michael Vicks, if you think about the Randall Cunninghams, if you think about, now you got the Lamar Jacksons, right? If you think about the Super Bowl,
Right.
right?
So what it might be is more so he come along at a right time when the game is changing as well, because the game has changed more so to fit black quarterbacks and to fit our athleticism than it was back in that day when you had pro style quarterbacks stand in the pocket. The knock back then was we wasn't smart enough or blah. And now you have it more with social media's out. You got a bunch of more stuff going on that will speak to these younger players and that it kind of matters. Even you got DEI and things like that. I don't even know how that may affected. But then I also have to know how many of those coaches were hired after Deion or before Deion. They have to have a lot to do with it. I can't say I think Deion doing anything. Maybe from a space of former players coming in and saying, okay, let me throw my head and hit a coach. But as far as regular dudes who come up and just want to be a graduate assistant or something and getting a job, I can't say I think Deion changing anything with that. I don't
Yeah,
believe.
so the reason why I think he is, right? And to your point, right, there's an opportunity to see, all right, who was hired before, who was hired after, things to that degree. But again, I always look into the future, and I'm saying in another 18 years, right? In another 18 years, what would it look like? And I think he will be at the forefront of it for multiple reasons, right? One is the process. So he isn't someone who just came from the NFL and just started coaching, or was sitting on the sideline reporting or doing a show and just say, "Hey, I'm gonna start coaching." He's been coaching since 2012, right? So
Mhm.
from a high school standpoint, 2012 to 2019, he was coaching high school, right? So he always been involved with young men and making that impact. And then the interviews started to pop up with your school, right? So again, reason why I don't like Florida State. Why wouldn't you hire Deion Sanders? But they missed on that opportunity. Now we don't know if he turned it down or whatever the situation is, but ultimately he didn't go to Florida State, as you say, is his alma mater, right? They had a chance, they interviewed him, and it just didn't close the deal for whatever reason. But what happens is that same year he goes to Jackson State. Now, if you think about Mississippi, when's the last time you've been to Mississippi?
Never,
Never. When are you planning to go to Mississippi?
never.
And that's typically how it is, right? Like when you think about Mississippi, the most that I know about Mississippi is how to spell,
David Benham.
huh?
David Benham.
Yeah, how to spell it.
Quick letter, quick letter, quick letter,
MISSISSI.
right?
I don't even know if I'm spelling it right. That
Quick
looks
letter, I,
triple.
I got to spell it like that. I
Yeah,
got to quick letter,
cricket letter I, right?
fuck
So
that,
the
fuck that.
name Mississippi is one of the top reasons I know about Mississippi. And this is no slight to Mississippi.
Right, definitely not.
I'm just stating perspective, right? From being somebody who's never been to Mississippi. I actually do plan to go. But Mississippi seems to be like a forgotten state, right? David Banner, right? Somebody who came up with a song and had it on his back really brought that attention into to that light to Mississippi. And then after that, it kind of just disappeared.
Right.
Um, if I'm not mistaken, there's a place called Biloxi, Mississippi. My
Mm-hmm.
parents went there. I believe it used to be, or it is a big, um, what do they call those things? Gambling, casino.
Mm-hmm.
So a big casino there. And I've met people, right? So even you think about Katrina, what do you think about when you think of Katrina, Hurricane Katrina?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. We act like it didn't hit no other other
Right,
place,
right,
right? There's people who literally were impacted in Mississippi
right.
that I know today that are like, man, we moved from Mississippi to North Carolina and just had to pick up everything, right? And had never
Mm-hmm.
been back. So when I talk about Mississippi, this is where Deion Sanders went when he broke into the college ranks, went to Jackson State, all black, historically black college, limited resources, and he brought that fame and that spotlight to them, changed the program, ended up bringing a five-star athlete in Travis Hunter, and really started to introduce the idea of should we go to historically black colleges, right? So that's just an example of the impact that he makes. But then he goes over to Colorado State and this is where I'm starting to see the impact, right? Marshall Falk is now the running backs coach. You
Mm-hmm.
have Warren Sapp, who's the defensive line coach. You have Byron Leftwich, right? When you think about a popular Jaguar player, quarterback, somebody who potentially had head coaching opportunities as an offensive coordinator in the NFL is now going to be working in Colorado. So people who may be NFL talent as far as coaching, they're now in a space where they're working with Deion and they're bringing that energy, that mentorship, and that aspect of football excellence to that type of program. So what have I seen in the past couple of months of head coaches going to schools? Two stand out, right? One is Michael Vick, right? Michael Vick is now a head coach in college football. The other one is Deshaun Jackson. Now, these are two people, they were excellent when it came to the game of football in the NFL, right? But it
Mm-hmm.
never really crossed my mind that they would step into coaching, specifically directly into head coaching, right? Like they
Especially
didn't
Deshaun
go,
Jackson.
huh?
Especially Deshaun Jackson.
Exactly, right? But I think it just speaks to the opportunity that people see Deion Sanders, and then it's like, well, shoot, if he could do it, maybe we can bring in somebody who's unexpected that we may not think that it would translate well because they're football junkies, they understand the game and they understand the youth. And I'm curious to see how that'll translate if they can have success and how that continue to open more doors. So
My
that's
theory is this. My theory is
hmm
back to one thing you said was in 18 years, right? This is my I remember used to tell people back in then when we were younger. What's happening is the old guard of white racist donors and stuff is dying out. So I think that has a lot more to do with it than any particular person because no matter who it is, whether it's Dion or somebody, some dude who 80, 90 years old, one of them donors, you got to interact with them people. You got to sit there and have meetings and dinner and sit there and bring your black family with all these, what we assume are predominantly white people who probably don't even like you, especially the ones down here, down south. So you talking about 90 and 80-year-old men, 70-year-old men back in 2000, they dying out. They don't care nothing about you. You know, you's a nigga. You getting up out of here. Now, 2025, we talking about what? 18 years later, you talking about 18 after that, we the culture now. Everybody knows that nobody's not denying no more that we make the world go. So they can bring one of us in, right, and keep the program going. Everybody want to be like us. They love it. This hip hop movement. A new generation of white people is on the front street now. So they not finna be able to carry. They're not gonna carry that. They can, but they ain't gonna carry it like their granddaddies did or their great grandfathers may have. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna use them for our benefit. We're not gonna just shut them all the way out because we ain't winning like that. You know?
Yeah, I mean those are valid points, right? The belief is diminishing to a degree, and that just comes with death, right? With death, things die, uh,
Yeah.
and new ideas prosper. So
They letting us in. I feel like that might have, just start kicking door with Obama in. Like, hey, let them in. You know what I'm saying? We got to do things differently. Figure the world is changing. You ain't finna have this, old white racists running the world up in our faces no more. It got to be more covert. So that's another thing I think I have a big thing to do with it.
yeah, and a lot of it is people can really do for self now. Like again,
Right.
whether it's 100 views or 100 million views, you and I can have our own show.
Right.
And we
Right.
can
Right.
talk about what we want to talk about. And
Right.
people who enjoy the conversation or want to have dialogue, we can bring people on here who may not have a spotlight, right? And that's the whole
Right.
purpose of the show is to bridge the gap. So those things are possible today due to technology and then just
Mm-hmm.
desire to say, hey, let's hop on and record a show and take it as far as we can take it. So the possibilities are there. And again, that was why I originally started with Jackson State. Like we can go to a historically black college and do it, right? Which is what Michael Vick, which is what Deshaun Jackson is doing. So it's just about now, can we fill that pipeline, right? So the regular degular dude that you were talking about, who's like, man, I want to get into sports. Well, now it's a Michael Vick who's hiring. If you
Yeah.
go look at the NBA staffs with the black head coaches, they have black staffs,
Yeah.
right? So that's something that's inspiring to see that, all right, there is somebody who can make the decision to bring me on and hire me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's super important. So I think there's a lot of tentacles to this, but I think seeing Dion and what he's able to do and still have the grounded nature. I was hearing him say in an interview recently, I don't even talk about NIL. I'm looking for people who care about the game of football, who want to grow as men. The money will come. And I
Right.
think that's something that's a good way to preach, even in his position of power. So I
And
look forward
regardless if
to,
it's him or not, we moving in the right direction in that space. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
that's
for sure. I mean, you brought up something, you talked about the old way of things dying off and the world's always changing. I think that's what's happening with Aaron Rodgers right now, right? So you got Aaron Rodgers, four-time NFL MVP.
mm-hmm.
People consider this guy, the greatest quarterback or skills, however they try to frame it and and dress it up, right? The guy can do no wrong. But now he finds himself in a position where he's not on the team. And I don't even know if a team really needs an Aaron Rodgers right now, but I want to ask you, four-time MVP, Aaron Rodgers considered one of the greatest, if not greatest quarterbacks of all time, can't find a job or at least isn't on a team. Why is that? And is it over for Aaron Rodgers? What's his legacy like?
uh as far as his legacy, I think it go down to what you say, leadership. Because like you mentioned, he was Pat Mahomes before Pat Mahomes. He was the guy everybody was saying was the best guy they ever seen. He can run, he can throw, he can make all these throws. And to me, at his peak, he looked better than Pat Mahomes. He was the best dude I ever seen behind center. My only knock with him all the time, he was a terrible leader as a quarterback. He'll blame and throw somebody under the bus very quickly. But his coaches were Mike McCarthy, and I don't. It wasn't Holmgren. It was whoever the guy was. I don't even know. I just know it Mike McCarthy, a bunch of young dudes. He ain't have no Andy Reid, a guy who got so much skin in the game, who could basically be like a father to these dudes and teach them more than just football. And he seemed like a guy. I watched his documentary, man, and it was real dope. He got issues in life and family, all type of black sheep type stuff going on with Aaron Rodgers. So, legacy wise, I think he definitely underachieved. I think I would expect him to win more than one championship. I believe he only went to one Super Bowl. I don't think he even went to another one. He beats Pittsburgh that year, and that was pretty much it. Right now they saying he might end up signing with Pittsburgh. Um, Going to the Jets is just not a good move. Me and Jordan was arguing about this today with Justin Fields. I'm like, hey, yo, going to the Jets is like going to the Bengals in the early 2000s. You go there, you're not going to perform. You're not going to be good. I don't care what's going on. I don't believe in the Jets organization. So he may be able to have a bounce back year in Pittsburgh. Will it amount to success and the means of winning and things like that? No, because there's too many young, great quarterbacks in that division, specifically Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. If the Browns make the right decision and pick one of these young guys, he coming off a lot of injuries, man. I think it's over for him. I think it won't hurt for him to continue playing. If you want to continue playing, it ain't gonna hurt nobody, hurt nothing. I think he probably would be better in a role where a young, great quarterback is sitting waiting the same way he was, right? When he was sitting behind Brett Favre. And I think that's pretty much like a blueprint that more of these teams should use. Will let these young QBs sit. Don't bring them in and throw them on the fire week one, right? He's set for years behind Brett Favre. He got to learn. He got to study the game and the ins and outs. He stepped right in, and he was magnificent. So I think it's over for him, but I do think he can be in the league. Don't necessarily know it's Pittsburgh the place, and I think he underachieved as an all-time great. Yeah.
When I think of Aaron Rodgers, and he's a great quarterback, right? Like I'm not gonna act like the dude can't play quarterback at a high level or one of the highest levels. But I just never looked at him like, you think about Stephen A, he's a bad man and all of that. Like I didn't see it show up when it counted. You know what I'm saying? Even there, to me, there's an asterisk on his Super Bowl, right? I don't know if you remember that Super Bowl run, but the only reason why they got there is because they got that onside kick. I don't know if you remember the onside kick if it wasn't against the Seahawks, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so they were down in that game. They happened to get a lucky onside kick. And they got it, but that's the fault of the other team. And that's how they ended up getting to the Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl game, but it's just a little asterisk on it because when you think about when was that Super Bowl? 2010. You know what I'm saying? Like we're talking about 15 years ago, Aaron Rodgers went and won his only Super Bowl, and that's been it since then, right? Like he's had the MVPs that talk about his talent, but again, when we think about the MVP in the NFL, it's really the QB award. So it's not necessarily like there wasn't other dominant players across the league during that time. It's a QB award. He appeared to be the best QB, so he won those awards. But outside of that, man, like he always came up short in the playoffs. They always used to talk about his defense. A lot of
Defense
the
was trash
games,
now. Defense was trash.
but a lot of the games they lost was a 10-7, 13-7 type of game. So it wasn't a scenario where they went to the playoffs. He dropped 40 like Allen, and on the other side was just Pat Mahomes, and they dropped 41. You know what I'm saying? Like it was 10-7 games, 14-7. It was low scoring games below 20. So when you think about an all-time QB, the greatest skill set ever, four-time MVP, you got to get me 14. You got to get me 20. You got to get me 28 points if you that dominant when we talking about the playoffs for a team that was considered a weaker defense that was holding teams under 14 points. So when I look at Aaron Rodgers, to me, his legacy, they might as well just put Brett Favre 2.0, right? He might as well go to the Minnesota Vikings to just finish off the
That's
whole
what I
plane,
said.
right?
I said
So he sat behind Brett Favre. Then he turns around, you got my guy who's a quarterback for the 49ers now, who is sitting for 2, 3 years behind him to where he started playing the games. Aaron Rodgers, I'm speaking about all right, am I coming back or I'm gonna come back at this time and I ain't gonna participate in this part of the season and just act like I'm running the organization, but again, not producing a championship to the point to where your number one wide receiver decides to derail his career and go take the bag to go to the Raiders, Devontae Adams, simply because he didn't know if you were going to stop playing football or not, right? So
derailed
you,
his career.
yeah, I mean, Devontae Adams was considered a top wide receiver, and now it's just all right. We'll see what happens. But when he ends up going to the Jets, they think he's going to save the Jets. He gets injured on the first play, and really, what it all is showing me. You talked about leadership. I would agree, but what we talk about the fruits will show. I always look at the fruits of anybody, right? You don't necessarily know the day to day, but you can just observe the fruits that's being produced, and you can understand, what may be in the background, right? So you think about what happened in the Jets organization. You think about how he gets Coach Sala fired in the middle of the season, right? You talk about how the players start to isolate themselves and look at him with a side eye because he doesn't show up. He can control what he wants to, right? And then now we're at a position where a top QB, you have teams that need quarterbacks, but you got people picking up the Daniel Jones, you got them picking up the Jameis Winstons and the Wilsons of the world, but he can't get a job or whatever it may be. And then lastly, thinking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, Cam Hayward, one of the veterans, he comes out and he's just straight up saying like, hey, either he
Right.
want to be a Steeler or he don't. You know what I'm saying? And they running with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback.
Then
And you
he
got
41
Mike
years old.
Tomlin saying he's confident in Mason Rudolph, right?
That's
So
his ball, man. He gotta get together.
I think it's just Brett Favre is his legacy, right? Same pathway. All he needs to do is go to the Vikings, and that'll literally be the same pathway.
I
40
think
the Packers to the Jets
to
to
the
the
Vikings.
Vikings.
I think more than anything, what it just shows is how difficult it is to win in the NFL. And when you get the great quarterbacks, the guys like Pat Mahomes and Tom Brady, it's just special to see them continually win because you think about it, if you think about the top QBs for us coming up, he gonna be top three, top four, top five. And you can think about Peyton Manning. He only got 2 Super Bowls, right? Drew Brees got one. He got one. You got Big Ben got two, but no one, I don't think no one would consider Big Ben better than any of those quarterbacks. Eli Manning got two. No one would consider him better than any of those quarterbacks. So the great QBs, man, no matter just being that face and being on those teams where you don't have all the pieces and all the infrastructure and the leadership, as you say, end of the day, Brett us growing up, Aaron Rodgers is arguably 2, 3, 4, depending on how you rank him, Brady, Breeze, and Manning. And at the end of the day, you got Tom got 7. The rest of them combined got 4. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, so that's what separate Brady to me and
right. That's what made Brady the
everybody
GOAT.
else.
Yeah, exactly. Make him the GOAT.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't even care to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers. I
I
know
don't
it's
give
April 1st, so I saw somebody post, unless that was you, that he retired, and so I thought that was real. Like it didn't. Nah, I thought that was good news. Like, all right, let's move on from Aaron
What
Rodgers.
you just said is big though, man. I don't know what I don't know what Mike Tomlin is doing. Maybe he didn't know he's set with the Steelers. I'm like, dude, you got to get a quarterback, bro. You can't talk about you coming in with Mason Rudolph. You know, we're going sideways right now, but then you sign DK Metcalf. You don't got nobody throwing the damn ball. Like, what are you doing? What are you thinking about? You gonna draft somebody? You gonna trade up? What are you gonna do? I think Shador Sanders would be great in Pittsburgh. I don't know why they won't try to trade up and get him, man. Like, that'd be perfect.
I don't know what pick the Steelers had, but
I don't know either. They
somebody said something recently, and I love Mike Tomlin, right? Like I've been holding on to the fact that he's never had a losing season,
yeah.
which to your point is like you say it's hard, but he win no matter what. But
Right.
then when I really sat back and was listening to what somebody said, is like he's really average.
He Doc Rivers. He
I
Doc Rivers. Same shit.
was like, dang, bro. Mike Tomlin is an average coach. That really hurt my heart to say it. It's like, dang, that's really
I
what it
wouldn't say
is.
average. I
Like,
think he definitely above average because of the fact
yeah,
and he hasn't had a losing season. He hasn't had a
yeah,
QB, right? It's just
yeah.
he has the consistency and he's with a top of the line organization, like you say, leadership. They only had 3 coaches in the whole history of the team. So they're not going to be firing and hiring and firing and hiring. He's above average. He just got to get a fucking quarterback. That's all he got to do. Get a goddamn quarterback, man.
Hey man, I hear what you're saying. Like I said, I love Mike Tomlin. If I'm hiring a team, a coach, I'm hiring Mike Tomlin. Like he's at the front of the line. But when you look at the data is showing that he is a average
And Shannon
coach.
Sharp said something about that. He said this is something that Pittsburgh. He said Pittsburgh did the same thing with Chuck Noll back in. He said they held on to that 70 team for too damn long. They ended up falling off. They held on to everybody. They just a loyal franchise. They hold on to everybody. So they had to finally end up trying to rebuild with Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher came in, got 1 ring. All those years, he got 1 ring. I think he went to Super Bowls. He got one just like Tomlin. Went to Super Bowls, got one. I think he lost that one. I would say he lost the one to Aaron Rodgers, then whatever year that
Was
was. But
Cordell Stewart the quarterback? Who was the quarterback?
when they were Super Bowl, the first time they played Dallas, he was quarterback in the
Cordell
90s.
Stewart is a
He,
champion.
he ain't win. He lost.
Oh,
The one they won with Bill Cowher, that was Big Ben.
okay,
Jahmal
okay,
when
okay.
they beat
It
they
was
beat
like his rookie year or something.
yeah second year
Okay.
they beat Seattle with because they should have lost, like you said, should have lost that. What's the name? Fumbled the ball going to the end zone. Jerome Bettis, and they caught him trying to run down the Colts and everything like that. So yeah, man, Pittsburgh got to get a coach, get a quarterback, man. Draft a young quarterback, hire Aaron Rodgers. Hey man, look, we bringing you in to teach this young dude. If you ain't gonna teach him, you can't come here. Something like that. That's what I think.
Shout out to Cordell Stewart,
Cordell Stewart, wow, Colorado,
Charlie Batch.
Charlie Batch.
they,
They don't
they
have them, boy.
they had some interesting QBs, man.
They don't
But
have them.
shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not a fan. I'm a Jaguar fan. I love playing the Steelers because we just seem to beat the brakes off them.
They'll be the best games. They'll be the best damn games ever.
Yeah, so
Pittsburgh.
shout out to Pittsburgh, but shout out to everybody, man. March Madness on the horizon. Let's go, Florida. Let's go, Gators. Y'all got this, man. Let's see what happens.
You
Shout
like
out to
some
the
weird teams,
women's.
bro. You like
Huh?
weird teams. You like some weird teams.
I like weird teams. Okay. We'll circle back to this whole Gators, UN, Florida State topic. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, shout out to March Madness. Let's see what happens with the games. Let us know who y'all got coming out. And we'll be back next week. It's Keezy, it's Jahmal, Rashad. It's across the bridge.
Peace.